Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to Yayasan El-Minajay's YouTube channel. Here, we are committed to helping you understand and memorize the Quran. Each episode, we will discuss the contents of the Holy Book Al-Quran, give memorization tips and tricks, as well as comment on the wisdom and lessons from the noble verses.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم
عما يتساءلون.
Meaning, what are they asking each other about? The first verse of Surah An-Naba begins the surah with a rhetorical question. This verse refers to discussions and debates among unbelievers about the truth of the message brought by the Prophet Muhammad, especially about the day of resurrection al-Qiyamah. The meaning of Surah An-Naba Verse 1. The meaning of this verse highlights the Quraysh's habit of debating and doubting big things, such as the existence of the last day. This verse invites readers to pay attention to major issues, which often become a point of conflict between truth and falsehood. Interpretation 1. Tafsir Ibn Kathir. According to Ibn Kathir, this verse explains how the Quraysh talked and asked each other about the big news An-Naba Azim, namely the news of the day of resurrection. They question in a condescending tone or even ridicule the truth of Allah's revelation. 2. Tafsir al-Miyasir. This verse shows the confusion of those who doubt the last day. This question is used by Allah to start a big discussion about the day of resurrection as a form of warning for those who deny it. 3. Tafsir al-Maraghi. Tafsir al-Maraghi highlights that this verse contains beautiful language in the form of rhetorical questions. This verse describes the Quraysh's busyness in debating revelation and rejecting the truth. For Jalalain's interpretation, in this interpretation, the question in the first verse is an insinuation to emphasize that their debate is not based on science and only shows an attitude of opposing the truth. Tajweed of the picture of An-Naba, verse 1. Sentence asbabun, mad thabi regular short long. The letters yotasa olun have mad thabi because there is a long harakat in the form of dead yak which is preceded by the harakat fathka. Read to characters long, idgham begunna. The letter in gam has the idgham begunna because mim meets. With yak in one reading, this reading is done by buzzing. Yotasa olun sentence, mad jays munfasil long due to munfasil law. The letter mad meets hamza into different words. Read 2 to 5 harakat in length according to the Imam's reading method. Wak or quit law, at the end of the verse, stop at the words yotasa olun is a common wakaf. The reader must pause to mark the end of the sentence, showing the completeness of the meaning. Tadabbur Surah An-Naba Verse 1.1 Awareness of the Last Day. Allah reminds us of the importance of believing in the day of resurrection. This great event is not just a story, but a reality that will be experienced by all beings. 2. Avoid doubt and arrogance. This verse is a warning so that we do not follow in the footsteps of the arrogant Quraysh and reject the truth without the basis of knowledge. 3. Appreciating revelation as a guide to life. The great news An-Naba Azim in the Quran is a sign of God's love to provide guidance to people so that they do not get lost. Asbabun nuzul Surah An-Naba Verse 1. In general, Surah An-Naba was revealed in Mecca in the early period of the Prophet Muhammad's preaching. This first verse came down in response to the debate and ridicule of the Quraysh against Islamic teachings, especially regarding the day of resurrection. They questioned the truth of this teaching in a mocking and cynical tone. Allah revealed this verse to give a firm answer and remind them of the truth of the last day. Important note, there is no specific history that mentions asbabun nuzul directly for this verse, but the context is clearly related to the Quraysh's rejection of the concept of the day of resurrection, which is part of the core of the Islamic message. Knowledge of nasikh and mansukh Surah An-Naba Verse 1. This verse does not have a law that falls into the category of nasikh erasing or mansukh erased. Thematically, this verse serves as the opening and introduction of the surah that discusses the great news An-Naba Azim, namely the day of resurrection. This verse remains relevant and applies to this day as a reminder and food for reflection. Science of Balaghah, Surah An-Naba Verse 1. The balaghah in this verse is very prominent, especially in its use. 1. Rhetorical question. The sentence is a form of rhetorical question that is used to attract attention and arouse the reader's curiosity. This creates a dramatic impression while providing focus on what is being explained. 2. Ijazul Quran, the beauty of the Quranic language. The choice of the words they asked each other questions shows the debate situation that took place among the Quraysh. Using the plural form shows intensity and involves many people in the discussion. 3. Tawheed and implicit warnings. In this short verse, Allah subtly warns people about the arrogance of those who dispute the truth. This verse also contains a sarcastic tone towards those who are reluctant to receive revelation. Knowledge of reciting Surah An-Naba Verse 1. The qira'at commonly used in the reading of this verse is the narration of Hafs from Ashim, with the reading. However, in several other qira'at, there are differences. Qira'at Ibn Kathir and Al-Qisay read with izar clearly without inserting the letter mim into ya. This difference does not significantly affect the meaning, but adds to the beauty of variations in the reading of the Quran. Science of Munasabah, Surah An-Naba Verse 1. Munasabah science discusses the relationship between one verse or surah and another. 1. Relationship to previous Surah Al-Mursalat. Surah Al-Mursalat closes with a threat to those who deny the last day. Surah An-Naba opens with a question about the last days, so these two surahs complement each other in theme and message. 2. Internal relations in Surah An-Naba. This first verse serves as an opening to explain the essence of the great news An-Naba Azim, namely the day of resurrection, which is then explained in detail in the following verses. Jurisprudence, Surah An-Naba Verse 1. In the context of jurisprudence, this verse does not directly establish Shari'i law, but functions as the basis of belief. This verse reminds people to 1. Belief in the last day. Belief in the day of resurrection is one of the pillars of faith that every Muslim must believe in. This verse emphasizes the importance of that belief. 2. Avoid the attitude of denying revelation. The attitude of the Quraysh who debated the truth of revelation was a warning to Muslims not to take a similar attitude, namely denying the teachings of Allah. Usul Fiqh, Surah An-Naba Verse 1. In the recommendations of fiqh, this verse provides basic principles that can be used as guidelines, such as 1. Istifham as a form of reprimand. The questions in this verse are not to get answers, but to awaken people to think about the nature and purpose of their lives. 2. Context-based law. This verse teaches the importance of understanding the law in the context of faith. The main focus is on strengthening belief in the day of resurrection and the obligation to believe in revelation. Conclusion. Surah An-Naba Verse 1 is an opener that contains the beauty of language, the lesson of faith, and a reprimand for those who deny God's revelation. By paying attention to the aspects of asbabun, nuzul, tadabbur, knowledge of nasikh and mansukh, balaghah, qira'at, reasonableness, fiqh, and usul fiqh, we can understand more about the wisdom contained in this verse. As Muslims, this verse teaches us to always reflect on the greatness of Allah, strengthen our faith in the last day, and avoid being arrogant and denying the truth. This verse is also a reminder for us to always be humble and accept the truth that comes from Allah. Find a more in-depth discussion about the interpretation and meaning of the verses of Surah An-Naba in the Islam for All program of the Elmina Jayatul Ingagan Foundation. Don't miss other interesting studies through our preaching videos on YouTube channels and social media platforms. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss our latest videos. Let's together increase our faith and devotion through knowledge and memorization of the Quran. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.